Welcome guys and girls to the 26th video. This is where I actually get the bulkhead on the Land Rover. Very satisfying it is too, but you can see very quickly I get carried away and get my crane scale out. I just had to know how heavy stuff was. I started fitting the bulkhead and I got carried away and thought, oh, weigh the bulkhead. And then I thought, oh, weigh the front of that, it's got to be less than a ton. That's a ton already. How is that a ton already? I don't know what's going on here. I look up the weight of a Series 3 and it says it's 1350 kilos. I'm weighing the front without the wings, bulkhead, radiator, front panel, windscreen, cab and doors, and I get to a ton. 1,000 kilos over that front axle. I don't know that this is right. I think maybe that crane scale isn't working correctly. Yeah, I'd love to know your thoughts, if these Land Rovers are heavier than they said they were or not. Leave it in the comments. So with all that playing, I've put the crane scale away now, and I get the bulkhead, which weighs 60 kilos, over the engine and down. First things first, try and get the bolts in. That didn't work. You can get one in, but you can't get both in. Such a great feeling to have it sat there. It feels so much closer to being done. I put it in place. I put that bolt in first. I haven't got any of the mounts that come off the chassis here and go up to here. They make it very strong. They're not in place yet. I'm just putting these bolts in to see how it lines up. And with that one fully in, that kind of holds it from rocking forward and backwards too much. This one didn't want to know, so it's quite badly aligned. That's better. You can see the misalignment. So I'm going to attempt to move this. I think I'm going to grind all these welds back, remove the tube, elongate it, make a slot, and re-weld it in place. But yeah, what a milestone. It's lovely to see it on there. Right, now starts an awful lot of messing around. I mean, I spent hours on this. You can see I've got the jack stands there to try and raise it up. So the nuts aren't in place now. And I put those vertical galvanised brackets on with nuts to hold the bulkhead a bit more steady, while I can move it around relative to the chassis. So it's not really fixed to the chassis at the bottom at all. Getting the doors on means I can do the gaps. This has given me a really good idea where those pins need to be. So I've made a little mark on the bulkhead where I need to make a slot, in which direction I need to make a slot, and then I can start cutting these things off. Nightmare job, but I did get to use my new grinder, and eventually I got them out. It took 2 batteries worth, and they both got pretty warm because it was being used continuously. But I got those out, and then I start putting slots in there with the die grinder in the direction I've marked on the bulkhead. Then I can put it back on, of course, and weld them in place. So you can see the little arrow there, just on the bulkhead. It's time for a little bit of talking in this video, so I'm going to explain what's happening, or what I think is happening. Before I took that bulkhead off, I supported it and then cut the old outrigger off, the black piece here, and then re-welded that one on so that it was in exactly the same place, because it's very important for alignment. I did the same with that one, but what I realised the day before yesterday, when I was trying to fit this bulkhead to the body and mock it up with the doors, is that it does not line up very well at all. So I think the ones I cut off were replacements. They were definitely replacements, and I think they were put on badly, so this thing never had doors that lined up very well. So I have remade it, copying exactly, or to the best of my ability, copying what was there, which was a bad job. So I've copied a bad job. Brilliant. So instead of chopping the chassis about, I've chopped up the bulkhead. And kind of one of my drives for doing that is that the bulkhead isn't very good, really. The owner bought this one, and it's solid enough, but it's just a real shonky job. I mean, it looks terrible. There's cuts here and there. The welding's really piss poor, and like absent in places, and some of it's a patchwork as well. I think most of this is single skin, but this is a patch, so that's actually like 10mm thick to the other side, so it's a patch over the top. And look at it here, it's really not very good at all. So this is why I decided to chop this thing about a bit, in case there is the off chance that I have got those perfectly lined up and this bulkhead has been really badly remade. It might have been remade without a jig as well. So that's why I've decided to attack the bulkhead instead. So I've cut slots here, you can see. So now when I fit it to the vehicle, I can bolt these up to the vehicle chassis and adjust the bulkhead until I'm happy, and then tack weld them in place. So the next thing, I'm just having a break from it, is to continue this one. This one, you see my little guidance arrow there, needs to go up, so I'm going to die grind out of this. And then I'll reinforce it again when it's all done. Grind it back, make it nice. Oh, die grinding is so horrible. You can hear the compressor going in the background. and then the grinder's making that even higher pitch noise. This is quite a hard job, man. It spits off shards. Every single one of them will give you a splinter. It's really nasty. But you can see, especially with the high speed, I'm slowly getting through it. Perhaps I need a new carbide tree to make that work a bit quicker. But with that done, I can fit the pegs to the chassis now, and I can get the bulkhead on. So you can see there that the bolts are in, the pegs are in, held firm, and the bulkhead, you can see on this one nearest the camera, there's a slot where it can be moved up and down. So back on with the doors. There's a lot to line up here. You've got to get the waistline of the Land Rover lined up, the back of the door and the front of the door. That's just a height thing. Forward and backwards bulkhead position, which gives you bigger and smaller door gaps. And as the door gaps getting thicker or thinner towards the top and the bottom of the door, you've got to get them parallel as well. Right, so that was what an hour 6 minutes looked like of faffing around. The issues are, that's nice and straight. Let me see, I can zoom it in. The door has a slight downhill on it, coming forward from the back, but very little. This one, take the petrol cap off, makes it a little easier to see. This one has a slight, oh, I think that was dead straight to be honest. And the door looks like it's perfectly in line with the flat side of the tub. And then door gaps, well, they're really hard to gauge really, but that one looks very good. It's a 1/4 of an inch maybe, which is what it should be. It changes up there, so it goes narrower behind the hinge, and it gets wider again there, so who knows. Land Rover. And this one, just over 1/4 of an inch. 1/4 of an inch here, maybe slightly wider at the bottom. That's well within, and I'm very happy with that. You can see I've had to move the this is the pin I'll be welding in, and I've wedged it out there with some drill bits. The issue I've been struggling with is if you look at those pins there, there's a pin there, look on the back of the rear bulkhead, and another one there. And I've been using the flat top of the bulkhead and disappearing those pins. And if you see, the one on the right hand side disappears just there, and the one on the left is still showing. So my options were I could get the door gaps perfect on both sides, but the bulkhead was wonky, or I could get the bulkhead straight relative to the tub, but the door gaps didn't match. So actually none of this is relevant to the chassis. The chassis could be twisted as hell, it doesn't matter though. All I'm trying to do is line the doors up with the bulkhead. You could be doing this in free space with the chassis not here. All I want is the bulkhead to be level relative to the tub, so that when the roof goes on, it bolts down to the windscreen nicely. So I don't know what the issue is. I just don't know. A crooked bulkhead maybe, or crooked doors, or a crooked tub, but close now, so I've got a compromise. It's still slightly wonky, but it's like a couple of mil difference, so that's easily going to be okay with the roof. This side here is slightly widening towards the top, slightly, and that's helping reduce the issue really, which is this one, which is widening towards the top quite a bit. That's 3/8 probably up there, and 1/4 down there. So like Land Rover terms, it's not too bad. Of course I could change that by dropping the door, but then you'd have this misalignment here. So I've tried to get these hip or swage lines level here and here, and that one's easier. You can hide it away because it's under the hinge, but so you can do a little bit of jiggery pokery, but it's a mission. This hour and a bit now I've spent on this. It's only the tail end of it. I've been looking at this for several hours now, so I think we're just in a position where I've got to compromise now. The bulkhead, I'm going to say the bulkhead's not straight. It's that or the doors or the tub, but the rest of it seems pretty straight. So I've seen shonky work on the bulkhead, so I'm going to blame the bulkhead. So I've found a position where it's best, and I'm going to tack it in place here and here. tacked in place on this side, above and below, and on the back side. So now it can come off for really preparation for paint. Welding, seam sealer, stone chip, filler, primer and paint. Yay. That's all for now, folks. Thank you for watching. In the next episode we get that bulkhead all ready for paint, and there's a bit more work to do than I thought. Stay tuned. Hope you're enjoying the videos.